All right, all right. So I do want to kind of review with you guys talking about 1 point perspective. Now, before we already kind of started off with this generalized idea of having this kind of square in the background, and these are kind of our walls, our floor, and our ceiling. If you find that you're having an easy time drawing on the ground, but you're having a really hard time drawing on a wall or maybe a ceiling, literally just rotate the page. It's the same everywhere. It's just a matter of getting your brain to understand that it's the same everywhere. So some other things. Before, whenever we talked about 1 point design, we talked about taking a square or showing that kind of flat side of the object and taking it back into space. So if I want to draw just a quick cube, I would do, oops, there we go. I would do something like this. I'd start with the flat side that's facing me. I would take it back into space like that, and then I'd kind of cut it up like that. And that would give me my block, right? You can see the block going back into space. But that doesn't always work. Sometimes maybe you don't quite grasp the idea of drawing a square and bringing it back by using its points back to the focal point. Instead, a different way that you could go, and something that might work better for you, is to think about the tiles, right? The floor that we're standing on right now has these little tiles. They are 12 inches by 12 inches or a foot squared. If you can imagine, we talked about this yesterday, imagine taking one of these squares, pulling it up at a kind of like a big pillar, a big rectangle. You'd be able to start kind of building things, like almost like one of those things at Spencer's with the little pins that you shove your face into. Yeah, everybody does that. That's super gross, by the way. Anyway, so something you could do is kind of make a tiling on your floor and then be able to go through and actually use those same pillar idea. So I could go through and do something like this. Kind of spread out my tiles, right? They all go there, then horizontally, going back into space.
Is that true?
What's that?
Is that true?
Yeah, that would work. That's your tiling on the floor, right? Then what I could do is I could take one of these tiles and kind of pull it up. So for example, again, I'll switch colors here. If I wanted to use, just to grab a darker green here, if I wanted to use these tiles, this idea of taking one of these tiles and kind of pulling it up in space, right? Maybe I want to do a couch. Well, I can kind of say, okay, this is the base right here. We'll say right there, that line, that will be the dividing between the actual cushion, the seat, and the back of the couch. I'm going to pull those straight up. Now tell me, don't you really want to love me forever? So I pull them straight up. Then I can cut them off, like so. Pull those back to the dot as well. Right? Now I kind of have this three-dimensional cube. Again, I'm going to change colors real quick. Okay? So now I have this block. Same thing I had before, right? Same thing I had before. Only this time I'm going to actually cut it like so. Kind of bring it back into space, cut it, bring it back into space. Now all of a sudden what I end up with, oops, there we go. What I end up with is a nice chair.
I wish pencil actually erased that.
Right? This is a really nice app. This is actually an app called Procreate. It's really good for digital drawing. There's a couple of them out there. I prefer this one the best, personally. But so again, so there's my couch, right, or my chair, or at least the blocking in. Now, as far as adding detail, armrests and all that kind of stuff, we can talk about that later. Really, just by messing around, you'll be able to figure the details out. They're actually the surprisingly easy part of this project. Making things go back in 1 point is the difficult part. So really spend a lot more time blocking in and making sure everything's going back to that point. Remember, when in doubt, you literally have 3 options. That's it, just 3. What you want to do is go through. You have either up and down, that's vertical, north, south, right? We can go east, west. You have horizontal, or you're going back to the dot. Those are your only 3 options, A, B, or C. If you find that you're drawing something, say I have something on the ceiling, I don't know why I do, but say I have something on the ceiling, right? And I start with that square, and I start drawing something like this, like that. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look even remotely right. You see things in 3 dimensions all the time. So your brain is going to know whenever something doesn't look correct. So make sure that you have that thing going back into there, back to there, and so on and so forth. Pretty soon it'll start to feel much more correct. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns, issues, subscriptions to those issues? No? Pretty good? Okay. Again, a lot of this stuff is review. I'm aware of that, but I want to make sure that you are all on the same page. If you have any questions, I'll come around and talk to you guys as a class individually. Otherwise, go to town. If you need paper, it's up front.